Hello and welcome to the Scientology Money Project on YouTube with your host, Jeffrey Augustine. Glad to have you here. It's a rainy, very rainy, Wednesday night here in Los Angeles. We're having El Nino warm waters in the equatorial Pacific, bring in the atmospheric rivers. So hope you're doing great. Glad you're here. We're going to do a show tonight on Grant Cardone and why his contracts are as sleazy, that's my opinion, as Scientology's contracts. So Grant Cardone, of course, has been in the news lately, and I think there's more trouble coming his way. And certainly where I want to begin is something that there's a lawsuit. Grant Cardone sued former T-Mobile CEO John Legere for $100 million, claiming slander and libel. And I wanted to share this while this is what kicked it off. You may not have seen it, so I wanted to show it to you. And here it is. Now, if we go to the blog, the Scientology Money Project, of course, I just want to kick this off. Jean Legere filed his response, his answer to Grant's $100 million defamation lawsuit, called it a publicity stunt. This I posted February 28th. So basically, it said that Mr. Legere said that Mr. Cardone's complaint was a publicity stunt. And I kind of agree. I think Grant got really mad, and this is you should be able to hear the video. I have it turned up. This is where it all started.
John, hey, Grant, you are the biggest bullshit artist on the planet. Okay, John, so I'll finish my statement. So Grant Cardone, who talks about being a recovering addict, and if you look at his posts, they are constantly him holding wine and whiskey and everything else. So Grant, are you a recovering addict, or are you just a drunk?
I had a drug problem. I never had a drinking problem.
Hey Grant, how much of the world sees a bifurcation between a drug issue and an alcohol issue?
What do you know about addiction?
I know quite a bit.
I've never had a problem with alcohol.
You talk about my life and my recovery and the whole deal, but you're out drinking.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
it. Well, I think the world might have a problem with your story, Grant.
Why are you trying to diminish everybody in the room?
No, just you, Grant, because you're a fucking con man.
Okay, so there you go. That's the video that started it all, the war between Grant Cardone, OT8, who's supposed to be able to confront and shatter suppression, but the only way he can handle it, where John called him a fucking con man and a drunk. And this is something Tommy Scovel often talks about recovery on his channel, The Lifeboat. And that'd be interesting to have Tommy comment on how Scientology got me off drugs, Grant says, off of cocaine. He said he's used enormous amounts of cocaine, but he still drinks alcohol, so he's recovered. That's not how it works. So let's welcome everyone aboard. I just wanted to kind of get things going. Hi, the real two, Scummy. This is going to be great. Looking forward to this one. Yeah, Uncle. Heavy mess worker. Yes, that's a big guy. That's a big boy there. You got holding a snow shovel. Doesn't Grant just create a license to front run investors? Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's part of it. It's a contract, but yeah, that's part of the game. Now, Lisa Burton, welcome. Good to see you here, Lisa. I paid attention to Scientology for a couple of years and appreciate how you fill in the facts and nuances. Why, thank you. That's why everyone on SPT does, on their people on blogs, everyone. Certainly, there's plenty of people blogging and writing and covering it, but thank you. Hello, Wayne's World. Hey, folks. Hey, you. Glad to be here. Apostate Alex, bang on time. Yes, we are bang on time. And well done. Alex and I are going to do a live this Friday on the things that guy's been up to and East Grinstead and other places. Alex says, I don't think he's going to be invited to St. Hill's Christmas party. Alex, I don't think you're being invited because you don't have your ethics in. You're interpolating East Grinstead, and you're a bully and a bigot, according to Scientology. In fact, they just texted me, apostate Alex is a bully and a bigot, a bigoted bigot who is a bigoted bullying bigot. Okay, sorry, I got knocked offline there. What happened was I have a trackball mouse and it flipped over and it did some stuff. Like that funky brick living. Look at that caption. I'll just call you FB funky. They're building death camps for our dreams. Yes, that's what Scientology does. Build death camps for your dreams. Brutal. Yeah, when John took apart Grant, he didn't like it. Yeah, if you're not living right, if you're being evil, etc., you're not in recovery either in most people's thinking. Yeah, so Grant can drink, and there's plenty of pictures of him drinking, and so but he's sober. He doesn't use drugs, but he drinks. That kind of reminds me of when President Clinton was in office, and he was serviced under his desk in the Oval Office, received oral sex from Monica Lewinsky. And I'm not being political, this is just, on the record. But President Clinton said that wasn't sex, that sex was sexual intercourse. And the reason I mention this is because I watched an SNL skit on that the other night on some old 1995 SNL. It's just killer satire. So I guess oral sex is not sex, but intercourse is, if you're the president of the United States. And Monica came out the victim of that. I feel badly for Monica Lewinsky. She was exploited. But getting back to Grant, and more seriously, the idea that if you are not using cocaine but you're drinking, you don't have a problem. Well, I guess if you don't have a problem with drinking, you don't. But for you to say to anyone that you're sober or that Scientology got you off of drugs. So I don't know how Grant reconciles that. If he wants to drink, he can drink. I mean, there's plenty of pictures. I don't care, but I think there is hypocrisy to claim you're sober when you're drinking. Because if you're sober, it means you're not using anything. And I would certainly like to get possibly trouble. Hi, sorry I'm late. Well, you're always late, but that's fine. We expect you to be late. But I'm glad you're here. It's good to be fashionably late. Alex, I got an invite to the St. Hill Easter egg event the other day. Wow. I don't think they realized I'm still on their mailing list. The St. Hill Easter egg event. Wow. Wonder what will be in the Easter eggs. Maybe tiny little copies of Dianetics. Oh, I got to tell you, okay, well, that looks like I cut your stream because you were being mean to me. No, it was just me screwing up. What do you think I'm considering running? You know what? I think, Alex, you should run for that office. Who is it? Arbel resigned? You should run for that office. Young man, you belong in politics in East Grinstead. Alex, I thought immediately when I read on The Bunker, I thought you should run for office. I'd like to see you in office. One of us, I mean, we have Mark Bunker in Clearwater. And if we had Barnes Ross in East Grinstead, that would be deluxe. Peter Foster asks, is there any other tax-exempt organization that uses so much taxpayer money as Scientology does? That's a good question. And there's no way to measure it because we don't know. here in LA, Peter, they are wasting, the cult of Scientology is wasting a fuck ton of money on fake LAPD calls to harass live streamers. They're wasting LAPD's time and money on these BS calls these sleaze bags are making. And by the way, I have a bone to pick with La Poubelle. And La Poubelle, I was live streaming last night. Apostate Alex was modding, and you played Sade's "Smooth Operator," and I got a copyright notice from YouTube, and so they demonetized that thing, which is fine. I don't. It's not like I make. No, it's not like I'm a YouTube billionaire. Um, so so La Poubelle now has resorted to using Scientology's Office of Special Affairs fair game tactics. So they're playing Sade's "Smooth Operator." They got on my stream. So La Poubelle, I reported you today to ASCAP. I have time and date when the song was playing, and I'm going to make sure you pay the goddamn royalties to Sade for playing her music in La Poubelle. It cuts both ways. You got reported today, Francois, because if you're not paying money to play Sade's music in your club, and I got demonetized, well, you're going to have to come up and pay. And in fact, I have a plan in mind to see if you, ASCAP would audit you. And so it cuts both ways. And the same thing goes for Scientology. If you want to play copyrighted music other than L. Ron Hubbard singing wretchedly horrible songs, thank you for listening. Seems like a bullfrog. I am late for muster because I came over from Tommy and Reese. Oh, that's fine. You know, you can, this is like open. You can come in and out, go to different streams. I sometimes do that. I'll be watching multiple streams, and FB, I just love the avatar. They're building death camps for our dreams. Wow. La Poubelle customers to goad the protesters into whatever they can to get the police to act is so stupid. Like, you're the business, you're the thing out there that can be destroyed. Yeah, the La Poubelle, but the fact that they're doing that, they cranked up the music really loud. So I kept walking away slowly to see how, if they would turn up the music. And I was like, it was like see how loud they would turn it up. And anyway, Sade, love your music. I've always been a long time. I saw you in San Diego. It was amazing, just amazing. I saw Sade live in San Diego, and so Sade, if you're listening, and I hope you are, I'm a big fan, and you should have your management put some lawyers on La Poubelle. I didn't, it's sort of like your music being played across from Scientology Celebrity Center was just blasphemy. It's just a filthy. I've decided, to call Celebrity Center, and we'll get to Grant Cardone. Don't worry. I just have to go some stream of consciousness here. So I was doing a a walk around Celebrity Center, circumambulating the Celebrity Center, counting the cameras, and I decided to rename Scientology Celebrity Center Cameraland. There's so many cameras that it's Cameraland. It's like Candyland in Django Unchained, but it's Cameraland. And there's a lot of cameras. One of them's pointed directly at La Poubelle, surveilling it. Yes, they did the same thing to me at IES protest. Yes, I'm going to. We discussed this, and I have some choices, but I'd rather file the ASCAP complaint because fiendish expression. Oh, I like that name, Mary Crucksmith. I like that upside down photo, like you're zero G, like you're floating in outer space. It's very David Bowie-esque, really sleek. That'd be like a great album cover. Thank you, Francois. Yes, Francois is a jerk. She's la jerk at the trash can, La Poubelle. Isn't it a fact that it's the artist that claims the DMCA? I don't know how it works, Peter, but somebody, Francois, will be getting notified. And I have the evidence on my video of time and place when she was playing it. My PFP is from the Invisibles. It's a cool, weird comic book for grown-ups from the 90s, I believe. Oh, yeah, that's when comics started making a big resurgence for adults. Some great comic books out there. Okay. La feces bell themselves. Yeah, it's got like so many names for it. And anyway, the patrons at La Poubelle, if they want to hang out there, that's fine. They're the local Scientology rich kids, I guess, and debauched. I don't know. I don't know the crowd over there. They're bigots, though. They don't like protesters or free speech. I'll tell you that. La Poubelle. Francois does not like free speech. So with her, she wants to talk shit about people and raise money and cry on camera to raise money for her restaurant during the pandemic. And yet she's using aggressive measures, the music of Sade, to kill off free speech. So the fact that Francois La Poubelle would try to destroy free speech by using music as a weapon doesn't say much for her fascist tendencies. So let's jump into the main. They seem like the trust funders. Yeah, they would be. You know, when you go to the Shrine Auditorium where Scientology has its IES event, you can watch. There's like the ratio. There's like 25 really crappy cars and then one good car. So you can tell that Scientologists, the adults, they usually like share an apartment. So you might get two or three couples sharing an apartment and driving old crappy cars to put the money to Scientology. So when the IS event, you'll see these beat up old cars, and then you'll see the rich Scientologists driving the nice cars. It's an interesting thing. Sparkling Dragon. Evening, beautiful people. What evening to you? I like the dog in the truck. It looks like a truck. So we're going to go on to our main event here, the main event. And wait, I don't want to share screen. I have everything already. This is, let me see. I have this all done. Okay, now that's what I wanted to show you. We're talking about, now I did a shoot in in Aventura, Florida, where Cardone Capital is headquartered in a brick and mortar building, an office building. He has this painting, and you'll see in the center there's a purple gorilla smoking a cigar. Is it Freudian or is it just a cigar? I think it's Freudian. I think that big cigar in Grant Cardone's mouth. I think we need to interpret in Freudian terms that he's compensating. So, but anyway, he has this gorilla, this purple gorilla, purple and orange psychedelic gorilla, and painting. And then he's in front with the big cigar in his mouth, like the gorilla. So I shooped in L. Ron Hubbard with a big cigar. It just fits. This is such a great piece of cult art from the Scientology Money Project. So I did this shoot. I thought L. Ron Hubbard looked good with a big cigar. It's like we should all have big cigars when we go live streaming, and put on go into the valence of Grant Cardone, as they call it in Scientology. The valence. That's when you're pretending to be Merry Christmas. Sometimes a banana is just a banana. Yes, but in Grant's case, I think it's compensatory. Like he has a big car, he has a big cigar, and follow the logic because he has a small fill in the blank little, lack of development. Anyway, I think that we should all smoke cigars or bring cigars. I don't smoke cigars, but I think I might buy a cigar and, and have, do a Grant Cardone thing just for fun. Yeah, I agree. It's compensation. Put a 5 in comments if you think it's compensation. Put a 1 if you think he's just a lunatic. 6 for both. So, L. Ron Hubbard, Grant's a baller. L. Ron Hubbard, a cultic baller. Now, this is the large scale shoop. I think if Scientology would have Golden Era Productions go back and have Ron smoking a big cigar, I think that would be a modern look. You got like up 6. I like it. Yep. 555. Yep. Compensating. I forget what I said. 6 with compensating. Yep. It's both compensating. Yep. Who is he trying to show off for? He just comes off as a dunce. Everyone knows who of him. Yeah, he's kind of a dumbass. I've always thought Grant was he's got some money, but that doesn't mean you have class. You can have all the money in the world and still be a hillbilly. But that's part of his appeal. I think he needs to get rid of some teeth. Yeah, it's pretty much 6. 6 is across. Compensation is also a financial transactional term. You are correct. And we're going to get into that, Mary. You're very perceptive because Grant makes sure he's compensated in every possible way from other people's money. You have that very insightful. That's great. That's an A+ comment. 666. Yes. I know what actually L. Ron Hubbard on the original OT8 level said he was the beast, the Antichrist spoken of in the book of Revelation is actually called, as I pointed out last night, the name is the book of the Revelation of St. John the Divine. And L. Ron Hubbard said he was the Antichrist, but the Bible says many Antichrists have come out into the world. So Ron claimed to be on OT8, he claimed to be the Antichrist. So Grant would be a lesser Antichrist. A lesser Antichrist. Now, the other thing that Grant was promoting, God wants you to be a billionaire. God wants you to be a billionaire. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I checked my Bible. By the way, this beautiful piece, I've had since I was 15 years old. And look at that beautiful Jesus person, hand-tooled leather from Southern California. This is the Bible from when I was a Jesus person. We were also called Jesus freaks. And this is actually a Thompson Chain Reference Bible, but it's the King James Version of 1611. King James Version 1611, the only Bible from me. KJV 1611, handed down from God. King James was a gay man, of course. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Scofield Study Bible. Yes, this is the Scofield Study Bible, and it's a well-worn Bible, and it's just beautifully. My friend Lori, she made this beautiful hand-tooled cover from the 70s, and I thought to show you. I wanted to show you this. What went on back then? This brings back memories of the band Love Song, Mustard Seed Faith, Daryl Mansfield going to Knott's Berry Farm for the Jesus Nights. And isn't that beautifully done? So it's a treasured possession, and it's underlined. But this is one way I learned to study systematically because it would have footnotes. So you can see the center column had verses. So it's called a cross-reference Bible. Scientology has nothing even close to it. Nothing like the Scofield Study Bible or the Dakes. And it's pretty amazing. So that's part of how I learned to study. But I just love that beautiful handwork that Lori did. And it's withstood the test of time. And so the leather cover itself, the one thing I love about books, especially older books, is the beautiful hand stitching. So if you take this out of the cover, hold on. I just want to share this with you because I'm proud of it. If you take it out of the cover, this is the actual Bible itself. And my father bought it for me at the Melodyland Bible bookstore in 1973. And so I treasure it because my father bought me the Bible. And but it's beautiful whip stitching. The construction and quality of good books is why they last hundreds and hundreds of years. So it was expensive at its time. Back then, this was a very expensive book, but it's also produced in very high quality paper. And so there you go. But the point I was making, the reason I brought my Bible into this is Grant Cardone's fallacious claim that God wants you to be a billionaire. No, Grant, you can read the entire Bible from cover to cover, which I doubt that you have, because it's not authored by L. Ron Hubbard. You can read the entire Bible, and nowhere does it say God wants you to be a billionaire. Nowhere does it say that. Now, you can get into the prosperity gospel of L. Ron Hubbard, where God wants you to lie, cheat, and steal, and sign the contracts, press hard, you're signing, so, but no, God, nowhere in the Bible does it say God wants you to be a billionaire. And I think it says the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Nothing wrong with having money, but I think Grant, if you were looking at him in biblical terms, he's made, he has a false god he worships named L. Ron Hubbard, and he's made himself an idol, and he's a lunatic. So, yeah, I love old Bibles, not because I'm Christian, but they're just beautiful, well-crafted artifacts. Yes, our family Bible dates back to the 1700s. It is signed by someone from each generation. Amazing. I have our family Bible, and it doesn't go back that far. It goes back to about 1830, but it is beautiful. I found out about Grant Cardone from YouTube shorts of him grifting. Yes. I immediately knew he was a fraud. Yes, because your BS sensor's working. My fraud sensor went off. I don't understand why so many let this criminal in on their podcast. I'd share that thought. Yeah, my grandma had some gigantic old Bible. Yeah, that was a thing when I was growing up as a kid. You had these huge coffee table Bibles. They were enormous, and a lot of families would put them on the coffee table and never read them. Cross-reference Bible. No pun intended. I get what you're saying. Jesus freaks. We were. I had hair this long in high school, and I was a Jesus freak and proud of it. I was proud of it. We call ourselves Jesus persons, but Jesus freak, fine by me. To be a Jesus freak is like some old school status. I'm very proud of it. And it is beautiful stitching. What kind of watch you wearing? What kind of watch I'm wearing? Oh, Jim, Kohler. This is a Swiss watch, and it's a Mido, M-I-D-O. It's a nice part of the Swatch brand, and it's a diver. And the thing I like it has a sapphire crystal. It's not a terribly expensive watch, but it's just a beautifully done watch, the Mido Diver date. And I love watches. So this piece with the stainless steel, the bracelet's beautifully done. I mean, it's just beautifully beveled and done, and it's just a great watch. So this is like my daily wearer. But sapphire, when I worked in lighting, we used a lot of sapphire optics for very expensive stuff. So I love they put optical coating on the crystal, so it's completely non-glare. I mean, look at it right now. I'm putting it up in lights, and you're not getting any glare off that crystal because the optical coating the clarity is so perfect. Sometimes you can't even see the crystal. So it's just my daily. But thanks for noticing that. Watch people. After getting the Bible, did they sign you up for a lifetime of courses? No. And Peter, that's a great point. When I became a Christian, they gave me a free Bible, and which was an expensive one, which was nice. And I also got a pocket New Testament to carry around and some Jack Chick tracts to distribute. But they didn't sign me up for a lifetime of courses at all. And that's one of the things I liked about a church will invite you to potluck, to join. It was very welcoming, embracive environment. And that was a wonderful period of time, Southern California Jesus Person movement. And if you're becoming a billionaire in your lifetime, it's from being evil. Nope, I didn't say that. I'm saying that if your only focus is on acquiring wealth from other people and not telling the truth, then you're starting to become not being. And this is what we're going to talk about today, how the law and YouTube videos forced Grant to become more transparent in his fine print. but he still doesn't come out and just tell you plainly. I'm not against anyone being wealthy. I've made a few dollars, Karen and I. So I'm not against that. And I'm not against money. I'm against people lying about what they're up to. So I don't care if Grant has a jet, good for him. But if he's lied about how he's making money and he's misquoting scripture, and it's all marketing bullshit. And that's why John Legere called him out. That's why, in fact, we need to go back again. Now we'll go back and play the tape later. Prosperity was turning a loaf and a fish into a meal for thousands. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And so I'm not against anyone getting wealthy. And that's part of what you can do in this world is work and invest over time. And sometimes if you're a young genius in music or physics or science, if you're a young Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Led Zeppelin, you can make a lot of money if you're talented. And some of us have to work. And so I just went I'm reading Jack Chick. Yeah. Some of the anti-Jack T. Chick type tracks educate on the usual Scientology would be funny. You know what I did? Okay, now hold that thought. Now I have to show off something because this is fun. And the reason we're having so much fun is Grant Cardone. I put up my notice early so that Grant Cardone's social media team would be watching because I know he lurks. I know he lurks and watches everything. And I have to go to OT8 is great. And I did a Jack trick. I used the art of Jack Chick to explain Scientology. So let me go home. And this was hysterically funny because I like Jack Chick. And if you don't know who he is, he wrote those little. He lived to be almost 100. He lived to be really old. And okay, I'm going to share this. And he was a Christian pamphleteer of some. You know what's amazing, FB, is Jack Chick tracks. There's like over 1 billion of them distributed to date. I mean, they're prolific. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. So what I did, I have a satire blog, of course. OT8 is great. And so what I did is I used, let me get this full screen here. I used the, no, I want full screen. I don't want me on it. Okay, Brendana. Yeah, I want the full screen. My assistant, Brendana. Okay, the church is, okay, there's OT8isgreat.com. The Church of Scientology explained using the art of Jack Chick part 1. So what I did, and these are all photo bucket, which sucks. I have to redo this, without the photo bucket label because the photo bucket just sucks. They monetize stuff and they put their logos on it. And I'll redo this. I did this in 2013, June 6, 2013. So this is David Miscavige. Each one of you will give me a breakdown of progress in your field of responsibility. So that's what I see RTC like. It's like Satan himself, the Lord of Darkness with his minions. Each one of you will give me a breakdown of progress in your field of responsibility. So like the Way to Happiness, Able, the orgs, all that. And then this is just Jack Chick, 1970s classic lunacy. Oh, Lord have mercy. I wish I could take you young people back in time to the Jack Chick, Jesus People era. Some of it was so funny. It's like some of it was just so hysterically funny. And this idea that that Ouija boards, there is an urban myth going around that some young ladies were playing with a Ouija board and then they decided to burn the Ouija board and it let out screams of terror and horror. And so like there was like a big thing about Ouija boards. And so we're gonna go back. So anyway, the sale of Ouija boards, if I would put the sale of e-meters has passed our wildest hopes. Young people are probing deeper into spiritism, thanks to hallucinatory drugs and fortune tellers. If you just swapped out that Ouija board for an e-meter, you'd be so close to the Church of Scientology. It was like Jack Chick was ahead of his time. Master, we have a winner in our drug division, no opposition whatsoever. But then I would put in like Narcanon Man as a superhero, like Narcanon Man, or the Citizens Commission on Human Rights would, come in and smash that devil. So the latest scientific methods, this was Jack Chick writing about communism, but look at it, how it compares to Scientology. A dossier is obtained. Yes, they do a dossier on SPs. Unceasing surveillance, that checks Scientology's box. Hidden microphones, oh, you're right. And also hidden cameras when you get audited. And they had hidden microphones at Flag, at the orgs, and they're filming you and recording you when you're live streaming. Advanced psychology, well, it's advanced brainwashing. Yeah, brainwashing to win the objective. Every possible device is used. So I was showing, like, just sign this contract. Each of you in the world is yours. What is it? I want all of you to sign in your own blood. Who cares? Shut up, Bobby, and sign it. So that's like Scientology contracts. We're going to go into Grant Cardone's contracts. And there's a man saying, your soul. Now that should just say, your Thetan is you, Danny. It's something inside your body looking at me. It has a body like you, but it's a different kind of body. So this is pure Scientology. A la Jack Chick. If I turn in a sicko, will I get a reward? Yes, a big reward. Just give me your teacher, the names, and we will treat their illness. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible to explain Scientology through Jack Chick tracks, as I did. And let me get this back over here. I got to drag screens around. So it's very possible. I'm glad you mentioned Jack Chick. You're nostalgic for the 70s night. Guilty as charged, Miss Burton. But I just, since we had someone mention Jack Chick, I had to go off on tangents because I can't stand. Jim Cloco, are you still love pocket watches as a kid? Yeah, he made a comment. It's nice to collect old pocket watches. One is a 100 case Waltham. Wow. And one is a 100 case Elgin. And I have 2 Illinois watches as well. I like pocket watches. And the Elgin made 1906. Well, we can certainly, I had to go back to the 70s because I had some, I was just, sometimes you get nostalgic. It's a nice thing to engage in nostalgia and listen to 70s songs on YouTube. And part of the joy of getting old. But the Jack Chick thing was so part of the 70s. In my experience, and not in everyone else's. So let's go back to God wants you to be a billionaire, and that's what he's telling all the Cardonites. He's preaching that to them with 10x. So, but when you actually go into the contracts, now if you Google Cardone Capital, SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, you can actually see his filings. And I want to share one with you. So let me get this. I just have to get this up. Where you want to go, you want to study any company's financial filings. I'm going to show you how to do it because this is share screen. This is just educating my audience while we're having some fun. Okay, now when you go on to the SEC website, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, I'm going to scroll up to the top. This is all fine print, but let's go to the top. There's a form you want called a 1K, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There's a 1K, and the form 1K, so Cardone Equity Fund 5, LLC, you can go through all of these forms, and Grant Cardone is required to file them. And when you investigate any private equity company like GPB Capital, David Gentili's, whose criminal trial begins in June, and so you can kind of see the required information. And this is really where you see what Grant Cardone is really about as opposed to what he says he's about. And this is why reading these forums is so important, because the delta between what he says, what Grant Cardone says on his social media, that's what got him sued. He beat that case on a technicality, I argue, and I think he'll get another one. He's trying to not be a statutory seller of private equities and social media, and I think that's going to go to the Supreme Court, because it applies not just to Grant Cardone, but to private equity in general. So going through this, basically, if you buy into Grant Cardone, you're Class A, and you're entitled to 65% of the profit. And Grant is the Class B, and he's entitled to 35%. So that's really the cut. And I'm going to anyway. You can go again. You can go look at his 1K, and this is all publicly. It's free information from it's called the Edgar database, but you can just type in Cardone Capital Equity Fund 2023, and you can go through, and there's a wealth of information about how he really works. And this is legally required disclosure. And if you're researching, you can get the names of the executives here, and you can get addresses, all kinds of information. And this is important. And so this shows ownership positions, equity positions, and you can get independent auditor statement, the actual financials, and you can see that this equity fund consists of five different what are called special purpose entities. So Cardone Capital 5, you can see it has 5 entities in it, SPEs. Cardone Del Rey member 1, Stella member 2, Sawgrass member 3, and Laguna member, and Ashley member. So his Cardone Capital 5 consists of 5 different LLCs, and Grant Cardone has an ownership position of 1% in each LLC. He takes a 1% management fee for managing each LLC. And they'll tell you how many units, 346 units. That one has 351 units, 501 units. So if you wanted to add up all the 1Ks, you can get the real number of units he has, the real number. And that's why this is so important to go through if you actually want to see what Cardone is up to. And there's disclosures, but that's what a 1K looks like. And there's other documents as well. So going back, now that you know what a 1K is, that would be, we're going to dive into some of it here in my presentation. So I want to go back. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to go back to my, okay, now this is basically stating, and I'm going to put this on my blog, this PowerPoint, and I just have to, I owe one or two PowerPoints on my blog, but this is basically saying that Grant Cardone owns about 1% of the 5 LLCs in Equity 5. It tells that he raised $50 million and that they're co-owned. And so it breaks down. So these statements, this is an interesting thing. Cardone Equity Fund 5, when he talks about the management, what he says is the company does not have any employees, but relies on services provided by the manager and its affiliates. So that means Cardone Equity Fund 5 is a fund that has 5 LLCs in it. Okay, so each of the Cardone Equity Fund 5 doesn't have any employees. That's the first thing to know. So therefore, and that's the same as Scientology Sea Org. The Sea Org doesn't actually exist. The Church of Scientology International, for your information, has no employees either. It has directors and trustees, but no employees. So Cardone Equity Fund 5 does not have employees, and it's managed by Grant Cardone. So the equity fund can't do anything on its own without paying Grant Cardone 1% each year to manage itself. So that's how Grant works. A fund doesn't have any employees. It just holds property as LLCs. It's managed externally by a paid person named Grant Cardone. But that's not entirely true either. So there's another entity called Cardone Real Estate Acquisitions, or CREA. Now that's who manages. You should read up on CREA if you really want to get down into Cardone and how it really works. Look at Cardone Real Estate Acquisitions. And this is partly to anyone out there who's invested in Cardone Capital. I doubt that you've ever heard of Cardone Real Estate Acquisitions, LLC. If you really want to get into how Grant does stuff, study Cardone Real Estate Acquisitions. I'm not going to get technical, but that's an entity you need to know about. Because what Grant does is he hires third-party property managers to manage his properties. So Grant, because his Equity Fund 5 and all his other funds have no employees, he'll hire third-party managers, but Grant will take a 1% fee for doing this. So, for example, if a fund has $100 million in it, Grant gets $1 million a year to manage it, but he discloses that he doesn't do the management, but he hires managers to do it. So he gets 1 million, even though other people are managing it. It also discloses that Grant gets 35% of all the profit. So even if you invest, I'm going to make this point. Grant Cardone's Equity Fund 5 raised $50 million from 2,200 investors, it states. So that average investment is $22,000 an investor. So Grant will hire third parties to manage it, but he'll still get the 1% fee. So it's pretty amazing. Hellraiser, Muggles 13, like that. I see you. Do they use LLCs? Yeah, Grant uses Delaware-based corporations, and then he breaks the funds down into separate LLCs. That's the same as the design of the Church of Scientology. Every part of Scientology is legally separate from every other part. So the Church of Scientology International operates on a license from RTC. Church of Scientology International licenses all the orgs and all the secular groups like WISE, ABLE, all the secular social betterment groups. And it's all so that you can only sue one part of Scientology if you sue anything. You can't sue the entire thing. Cardone Capital works the same way. Cardone Capital breaks all of its holdings down into legally separate LLCs, which are managed by Grant. What Grant does that's not entirely disclosed until he was forced to, Cardone basically, as I've gone over this before, other people have as well, and Grant Cardone will purchase an apartment complex with his own money, and then he owns it as Grant Cardone. Then he will sell it to his captive entity called Cardone Capital. So Grant has a captive entity. So Grant buys it as an individual, let's say for $100 million. And he will sell it all to Cardone Capital. He could sell it for 110 or 120 million, whatever he wants. And he also, on the Cardone Capital side, as the manager, will take a 1% fee. So let's say Grant here pays 100 million for a property and sells it for 120 million to Cardone Capital. He pockets 20 million, plus he takes 1% fee off the 120 million, an acquisition fee from Cardone Capital. So what he's done is he's made $20 million profit by selling it to his company or his investors, you people who invest in it. I certainly wouldn't invest with them. I can make a lot more money. Frankly, I make a lot more money investing. So what Grant does when he sells an apartment building to Cardone Capital is he has no more financial liability. He's made whole. He gets his 100 million back with a profit plus a 1% fee on the company side. So Grant has zero financial exposure. He might leave in a few million, but it's minimal. I would argue the term is de minimis. He has very little financial exposure. So if anything goes south, let's say a giant hurricane wipes out some Cardone Capital properties, Grant's out of the deal. Cardone Capital made him whole, and that's part of how the machine works. That sounds like a conflict of interest, selling to his captive. Yeah, it is, but let's go back to the details, because where does the devil reside? The devil's in the details. And so now this slide's interesting here. Grant takes 65%, but he has the right to not pay himself, and he can collect it on the back end when the property sells or when the cash flow is high. And Grant has to do this, Mary. Talking to Mary because you are very financially literate. What Grant can do is not pay himself, but take it on the back end, and he can stack some interest on that. He can accrue what he's owed. So Grant has the complete ability to show profit. What Grant has to do is keep the distributions being paid to the investors. So to make his distribution payments, he cannot pay himself, but that doesn't mean he gives up that money. It just means he pays himself back later. He makes himself whole no matter what. So on paper, he can show that he's paying distributions. And in order to do that, he can not pay himself, but the company still owes him the money. So that's how that works. Now, in red, this is how it works. So, Mary, if we start at the top, and this is a little bit of schoolwork, but pay attention, this first paragraph. Our manager and its affiliates, and our manager is Grant Cardone, and this is Equity Fund 5. Our manager and its affiliates experience conflicts of interest in connection with the management of our business. So, Mary, they admit in the 1K that they experience conflicts of interest. Some of the material conflicts of interest that our manager and its affiliates face include the following. Our manager manages other investment opportunities and funds outside the company, including those that have similar investment objectives as the company. So basically, the Cardone funds are competing with themselves for cash for investors. So there's an inherent and material conflict of interest. And it said the manager will most likely enlist the services of a third party in order to manage our assets. But at the same time, in red, even though the manager will hire a third party to manage its assets, Grant still takes a 1% management fee. So that's double dipping. He takes a 1% management fee every year on the value of the asset, and yet he hires someone else to manage it. So Grant's not managing it. It's hands off. He's not doing any management. He's just looking at the bottom line on the P&L. But he still takes the management fee. So that's double dipping. But they qualify it by saying, see related party transactions. So he's got all the legal work done regarding fees. So you can actually see the related party transactions. There's a link in the 1K that'll take you executive compensation, blah, blah, blah. Now, this interesting thing, top paragraph, we meaning Equity Fund 5, we may borrow money from the manager, meaning Grant Cardone, or affiliates of the manager at prevailing market rates, or engage the manager or affiliate of the manager to perform services at prevailing market rates. So basically, Grant Cardone admits that he will loan his company's money at interest. It was 6%. It's probably gone up higher. Grant Cardone predicted wrongly in 2021, he predicted wrongly, and I have it on my blog, that the Fed would not raise interest rates. Grant got that so massively wrong, but it's easy to get economics wrong. But when the rest of the financial world knew that the Fed was going to raise interest rates. Grant would say, no, they're not. No, they're not. And he was also telling you to sell your house and invest in Cardone Capital, which is you're locked in for 10 years and you might get a 4 to 6% return. Karen and I just put some money in a Wells Fargo 3-month CD at 5%. My money's completely liquid. If you invest with Cardone Capital, you're illiquid for 10 years, which means you can't get your money out for 10 years and you're only going to get 4 to 6%. Had you invested in NVIDIA at $120, it's now up at $750. So, Karen and I had some NVIDIA in our portfolio. Wish I'd had a lot more, but I'm just saying, yeah, so this is, let me look at the comment. Yeah, so they don't lose it all, a protective scam, and both it's stolen money from a good people and exit stage left clause. Yeah, that's it. Grant eliminates all his financial risk by selling it to Cardone Capital, and he takes 35% of the profit on the back end. And this is real estate syndication. You use other people's money to get rich. If he doesn't pay himself, does he not have to pay taxes? I'm not a CPA, Mary, but if you defer income, you wouldn't pay taxes on it, but you would pay, it would become a taxable event when you paid it. And Grant Cardone has publicly stated he looks for every way to avoid paying taxes. So if you defer income, I'm not sure the rule on that. We need a CPA. If it's deferred income, I suspect that Grant Cardone would write the contract in such a way that he doesn't pay the taxes until he's actually paid, and then he would find a deduction against the taxes so that he didn't have to pay taxes on the deferred income. His goal, he says, is to use every legal way not to pay taxes, and that's how people get rich. Question: if he gets prosecuted, would David Miscavige finally be prosecuted too? Nisa asks. No, unless David Miscavige had some undisclosed financial interest or was a beneficiary. If David Miscavige were not a party to Cardonology or the finances, no, he wouldn't. It's like David Gentili at GPB Capital. Scientologist David Gentili and his $1.7 billion Ponzi-like scheme. David Miscavige isn't, maybe we know Gentili donated some money to the church. We don't know how much. Hopefully that'll be clawed back. So, no, I think David Miscavige will be prosecuted on something else. And I'm not going to say any more than that. Scientology should definitely be a party. The London staff heavily pushed Grant Cardone's investment schemes on the public. I didn't know that, Alex. When we do our live, if Grant's using London staff members to push Grant Cardone's investment schemes, I'd like to know more about that, because here in America, that would technically be illegal to engage in commercial transactions out of a church like that. Let me see. Why doesn't Grant Cardone just claim his investment scheme is religious and get tax exemption? That's interesting, because the Church of Scientology owns so much property. They own so much property, but you don't get, but what you can't do is when you're a religion, you can't engage in annulment. And that's where one party benefits financially. L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology was tax exempt in 1957, as you know, and it lost its tax exemption in 1967 because the IRS ruled that Scientology money is inured to the benefit of L. Ron Hubbard. He had a private yacht he lived on, and he called the Apollo his private yacht, and he had staff that waited on hand and foot. So Grant can make more money being a for-profit business than he could being a religious leader. But I had a thing up here that was really kind of twisted, and let me see if I can find it. It kind of like Cardone went through like this messianic phase, and like he was trying to be like some prophetic figure kind of was really weird. It was just strange. Mm. So I had to do a spoof on him, which I will proceed to show you. Yeah, Grant was going through this really weird I'm a Christian kind of thing. And I think it was just to raise money because he needs investors, and he was really targeting Bible Belt, targeting the Bible Belt primarily. He said he was targeting uh, young Black people, so he had to talk straight. So engaging in cultural appropriation because Black investors apparently needed to be talked to straight. It was very racist comment. I took it as. Grant denied it, and he also was targeting young white males who wanted to be rich by showing that he could have a jet and they could have it all, and God wants you to have it all. So Grant's a kind of a shape-shifting reptilian. He'll be anything to anybody. He's been in Dubai, and so he uses the Bible to appeal to it, or he'll use rap music, whatever it takes for him. And that's part of how he runs his hustle. So I thought when he's going through this really weird messianic thing, I wanted to Grant Cardone's latest revelation. I'm the leader of a secret Martian sex cult. So I did this shoot, which I thought was creative. And I think that's a good look for Grant. I really do. I think it's a good look for Grant. And maybe that's where he's really headed. See, I think I got Miscavige there in blue, kind of a Miscavige. But this went up in 2020. Yeah, this was when Grant was really going big on religion. But so I wanted to make him on my satire blog. This is satire, protected satire and parody. Grant, I'm doing the same thing as John Legere is doing. I'm just not calling you a fucking con man like John Legere did. So I wouldn't be surprised if someday Grant, who drinks but claims he doesn't have a problem with drinking, and why shouldn't we believe him, winds up finding his inner Hubbard and just having his own cult. That wouldn't surprise me, because at some point, ladies and gentlemen, at some point, there's not going to be enough room in Dodge. There's not going to be enough room in Dodge. That's my prediction. That's an old saying for my non-American audience. In the old cowboy movies, you'd have two gunfighters, and they'd say, "There's not enough room in Dodge for both of us." So they would have a gunfight in the street of Tombstone, Arizona. So sometimes I think there's not going to be enough room in Clearwater for Grant Cardone and David Miscavige. I really think that's going to happen. I think, it's funny that the punching pontiff, David Miscavige, never appeared at a Cardone rally. And to my knowledge, there's no known picture of David Miscavige with Grant Cardone. How does that work? There's no known picture. If I'm wrong, correct me. There's no known picture of Grant Cardone with David Miscavige, which tells us one of two things. Either David Miscavige does not want to be seen with the likes of Grant Cardone, because that's Grant and Elena are downstat, or Grant Cardone doesn't want to be seen with David Miscavige because that could, kill off his investor base. Which do you think it is? Answer in the comments. Put 1 if you think that Grant Cardone does not want to be seen with David Miscavige. Put a 2 if you think that David Miscavige does not want to be seen with Grant Cardone. Because, Tom Cruise and David Miscavige are bros. They have their Leather Queen motorcycle picture on the Ducatis. Both. CIA mask. Are they the same person? Well, Grant Cardone is short of stature. This is a biblical term. And votes are coming in. No, they're not the same person. I know it's tempting to think so, but they're definitely not the same person. For one, just to be fair to Grant, he's never been accused of beating his staff, beating them with his fists. He might yell at them about how the money's not coming in, and he might, do other things, but 3, I think it's a bit of both. Mutually helps in both. You're probably right, Sparkling Dragon. It's sort of maybe they've agreed that we shouldn't be seen together, like because that's too much filth. It's like David Miscavige and Grant Cardone. You know what? And this is interesting because Grant Cardone has appeared at his 10X rally. He paid former President Donald Trump to make a personal appearance. So he wants to be seen with Trump. He's paid a lot of people to make personal appearances. And so, oh, by the way, let's check in on something. We have to check in on something while we're here, and we'll go to, I don't think he's a good sex cult leader. Let's go check on something. Elena Cardone, and I just want to see the progress. Elena Cardone, former President Trump, was hit with a $366 million judgment in New York State for fraud, which is a lot of money. And Elena Cardone, so let's check in on the progress of this. Okay, shall we? Let's just check in on while we're talking all things Cardone, let's see how Elena's fundraiser for the former president is going. Okay, so where am I? Okay, I've got to find streamer. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, Elena Cardone, when Mr. Trump was hit, and I'm not being political here, Elena and Grant Cardone have shown that they're all in for President Trump, which is their right to do. Americans have a right to vote for whomever they want. Not getting political here, but Elena started a GoFundMe to help President Trump. So let's just check on it and let's see what we can get. So Elena, so far, since she started the fundraiser some time ago, let's just reject all the cookies. She's collected 1.3 million. Oh, Elena Cardone, I'm sorry. Let's just go back and check this date. Okay, so I posted this on February 17, 2024, as you can see. I posted this. So we're here at March 6, 2024, and it appears Elena Cardone can only raise $1.3 million. I personally think, this is just my take on it, ladies and gentlemen. I personally think Grant Cardone had Elena do this because if the fund failed to raise very much money, Grant could just say, Elena, you didn't do a good job. You didn't have your ethics in, or whatever. He could blame it on Elena because 1.3 million, I mean, Trump's accumulating interest at like over 100,000 a day. It's some big number. But if Elena had succeeded in raising 350 million, the GoFundMe, if she'd raised it all, say in a week, I think the GoFundMe would have changed that Grant did it. But it was telling that Grant had Elena do it in her name. And it's kind of a flop because 1.3 million is not a lot of money. It shows it's a metric to me. I took it that Grant Cardone was using Elena as a stalking horse to see, as a metric to see how popular the Cardones were. And I think Grant wanted to see if he could raise enough money to raise his standing within Trump's inner circle. Because Trump's big in Florida. He has certainly a base in Florida and with Ron DeSantis. So I think the whole thing was a stalking horse that Grant and Elena Cardone used to raise their profile in the American Republican Party. And a measure that the Cardones always use and Scientology always uses is money. So the more money they could raise for Donald Trump, it would be a measure of their popularity as a power couple within the Republican Party and especially MAGA circles in particular. And you can see 1.3 million, it's just going to service the interest for a few days on Trump's massive debt. Mary, I like how you think. Yep, under the bus, Elena. Yeah, he's willing to throw Elena under the bus because it flopped and it's Elena's fault and Grant was busy doing other things. One would think if Elena and Grant were so rich, they'd just pay his judgment instead of fundraising. Yeah, no kidding. If Grant's a billionaire and he cares so much about Trump, why he should just, because if you have $1 billion cash and you write a check for 355, you still have 45 million left. Grant, if you really want to step up and you're a real billionaire, because John Legere said you're not, he said you're full of shit. And I agree with Mr. Legere. Yeah, Grant, if you got $1 billion, put your money where your mouth is. You and Elena should write former President Trump a check and take care of it all. And you could take over the position of Mike Lindell and be the new My Pillow for Mr. Trump. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, Grant, put your money where your mouth is. If you believe in that cause, then write a check because you got $1 billion and you'd have a lot of money left over still. You'd still have, like I said, 645 million. And you could take care of his debt and be the conquering hero. He might even make you, Donald Trump might even make you the vice presidential candidate. Ooh, imagine a Trump Cardone ticket. That's it. I think that's the GOP's route to success. A Grant Cardone Donald Trump ticket in 2024. Then theoretically, if that happened, Grant, and Mr. Trump were to die, to to drop the body, you would be president of the United States, Grant, and all you'd have to do to get there is risk $355 million of your $1 billion to buy the VP ticket. Grant, like, is a big picture guy. Think about it, Grant. Follow me here. Okay. Because Sparkling Dragons kicked off a thought of me. Think about this, Grant. You pay up President Trump. You do a deal with him because you're both deal makers. Trump wrote Art of the Deal in the 90s. You're a deal maker. Buy the VP ticket because Trump's the presumptive nominee. I mean, he just is. Kick in 355, buy the VP nod. The odds are that Trump will die because he's old. You know, I think he's 104 years old. And then you could wind up as president of the United States. Wouldn't that be something? That's the Scientology path. And then you could pick Tom Cruise to be your vice president. Something like that. That seems like such a total win. It's like, Grant, you're a better David Miscavige. I think you should have Grant step up because that would put you in the White House. And then you could establish L. Ron Hubbard's theocratic kingdom on the planet. Something like that. Anyway, that's kind of like my thinking process. That's just his body age, Jeffrey. He's millions of years old, really. Yes, really. Well, actually, he didn't write it. Yeah, I thought he was looking for investors. So the point I wanted to make, let's go back for a minute. I heard there's a legal loophole they found, but it shouldn't be legal. You know what? Everything is so convoluted. It's so convoluted, Sparkling Dragon. I'm not even following the Trump case because it's like there's so many cases in courts. I've got better things to do. It's like let justice be done. I mean, I'm like the court process will do it. Yeah, but I think Grant should pay and get the VP slot, and that would be a win-win. Then he could raise a lot of money because Donald Trump's big into real estate. Grant Cardone's big into real estate. And maybe Donald Trump. Well, you know, I do have something here to show you while we're at it. Where is it at? Oh, no, that's a legal filing. I can't show that. Oh, I've got this legal thing I want to show you, but it's not ready for release yet because I get all the good stuff first. I get, in many cases, not always, but sometimes I get all the good stuff first. And stop sharing. And what was I thinking? Let me see. I had a creative endeavor in mind. Just chat amongst yourself. Why can't I find Brandana? I can't find this. It should be queued up. Yeah, that's bad show prep. No, Brandana, I need help. You've got to do better show prep for me. I had it set up, and then we were having this thing. No, not prison cellmates. Nope, I don't have it. Oh, well, I had a picture that's, I can't get it ham. But yeah, I think that that's a good solution. So anyway, I want to go back to some of the fine print. It's not as exciting. You know, I had this term, but like when you see it on the screen, this isn't exciting because it's dull stuff. I'll put it on my blog. But basically, Grant loans his company money at prevailing interest rates, which means more money than he could make on the 4 to 6% on his own investment. So this bottom thing is really funny. Bottom paragraph. Our members may only remove our manager for cause following the affirmative vote of members holding 75% of the Class A interests. Unsatisfactory financial performance does not constitute cause under the operating agreement. That's such bullshit. So if 75% of the Class A members, they can remove Grant Cardone as manager, but unsatisfactory financial performance does not constitute cause. Coming from a corporate background, that's bullshit. Because the reason CEOs get fired is for what? Poor financial performance. You don't bring in the money. Your stock doesn't go up. You don't bring a return. You get fired for poor financial performance. However, in the world of Grant Cardone and private equity, if you have poor financial performance, you can't get fired. That's not cause for being fired. But the whole thing is you're supposed to produce value for your investors, but you can't be fired if you don't turn in your numbers. That's not capitalism. That's just a scam. Now, this second to last paragraph, quote, the terms of our operating agreement, including the manager's rights and obligations and the compensation payable to our manager and its affiliates, were not negotiated at arm's length. Well, yeah, no kidding. Grant Cardone admits there was no negotiation what he gets paid. It wasn't negotiated at arm's length. He admits to conflicts of interest. He even says at one point he doesn't have to spend all of his time doing that. He admits he's going to hire other people to management and take a fee. So when you dig down, Grant can't be fired for poor financial performance. He doesn't have to negotiate anything at arm's length. That middle paragraph, quote, the manager and its affiliates are not required to devote all their time and efforts to our affairs. Well, isn't that a kick in the pants? You're going to invest, but they're going to just hire a third-party firm so Grant can be on social media. The second paragraph, quote, prevailing market rates are determined by the manager based on industry standards and expectations of what the manager would be able to negotiate with a third party on an arm's length basis. So Grant's saying he can charge whatever interest rate he wants as long as it's close to market rates. But he doesn't specify because market rates on a credit card are 22%. So he doesn't give he doesn't give an index. Usually when you borrow money, it's tied to an index of some kind, like the San Francisco bank, the Fed, whatever. There's always an index to which he's tied. And Grant just says prevailing industry standards, but he doesn't. So Grant kind of has an open thing here to charge whatever interest rates he wants. It's not tied to an index or anything. So he could pay himself 12%. He could loan his company's money and charge them 12%, charge the investors 12%. And that wouldn't be unreasonable. He could make an argument that that's what a prevailing interest rate is because he doesn't define what, doesn't define it against an index. Slumlord. Yeah, that, there's been on some of the boards, it talks about Grant is slow to improve his properties and, it's hard to get fixed. And president of this whole sector of the galaxy. No, but he's got a shot at the White House if he took on that $355 million debt. because you can buy stuff like that. Okay. Now, this is just a thing where I was showing that Grant gets 1% when he buys a property, 1% when he sells it, in addition to the 35%, and 1% equal to the capital. So that's 3% right there. My point is, if you start adding up the 1K, you'll see how much money Grant's being paid. And there's more stuff here. I was going to read it, but it just doesn't, when you're doing a live stream, it's not as exciting. I'll post it on my blog. So you go into the 1K and you'll see that Grant Cardone is engaged in self-dealing. He doesn't do stuff at arm's length. He admits to conflicts of interest. He eliminates his financial risks and dumps it onto his investors. And that adds up, in my opinion, to bad faith. And he locks up your money for 10 years. All those people, when interest rates were very low, and when they were like 0.5%, if you were getting that at the bank, now that the interest rates are up and the economy's up and the dollar is as strong as it's ever been, all those people who have $22,000 or $50,000 locked up for another 8 to 10 years, 6 years, they're screwed. Can you imagine having your money locked up at 4% with Cardone for another 6 years when the stock market is just kicking it and there's money to be made everywhere, and you're locked into some apartment deal and you're hoping for 2028 or 2029 to come around where Grant will give you the money? And you're still being taxed on the when Grant pays you your distributions each month, and I track those and some of them are down, that's taxed as income. So, wow. He always finds a way to pocket some extra. Yes, it's just like the Church of Scientology. Grant, in fact, has said during the pandemic, when there were moratoriums on evictions, he said that's why he doesn't go into states where there's strict eviction laws like California. He will only stay in states like Texas, he said, and Florida, where it's easy to evict people. So Grant wants to minimize every possible risk, and basically, he doesn't want to give his tenants any more rights than he has to as tenants, and he doesn't want to give his investors an even break. So that's kind of it. Like, that's the bottom line of what I'm saying, is that Scientology has sleazy contracts of adhesion that strip you of all your legal rights. Cardone's contracts are identical. And that's kind of the mindset of Scientology, is to strip people of their rights, take away their power, arrogate unto yourself all the power and the money and control. And that's very much, if we were thinking of the Ferengi of Star Trek, it'd be all Ferengi rules, and that's a different thing. So it sounds like being entitled to and collecting are two different, distinctly things. Yeah, being entitled to something and collecting. Yeah, that's interesting insight. So that's it on Grant Cardone. And dang it, Brendana. I know Brendana, she and her other staff. Yeah, let's we fuck them and how. Oh, here. Question. I like that red question mark. What is the total debt load on Scientology real estate holdings? I don't think there is. YRB. Scientology likes to pay cash for everything. They like to pay cash, and I don't think they have any debt. Alex, you can weigh in. I've not seen any debt, except Alex discovered some in Kozrecki, the Church of Scientology Religious Education College. Kozrecki is the Commonwealth countries. Alex, can you weigh in? Does Kozrecki have a debt load on its properties? Because Alex is the expert on that. I'm not. I'm like, I keep up on America, and Alex keeps up on on the Commonwealth countries. So, okay, here's your answer. Kozrecki owe the U.S. Church $100 million. Wow. So there is a debt load. There is a debt load. Wow. Kozrecki owes $100 million. Alex, how the hell, when we talk Friday, like, how Kozrecki doesn't have enough members to ever pay Church of Scientology International $100 million. And I got to tell you, Alex Barnes-Ross has documented this. We're going to show you documents. So yeah, there's the way the Scientology financial fuckery is. Yeah, that's a big amount of money. So we'll talk about that. Vinechi Patasha, welcome. Happy to have y'all. Yes, Alex. Kozrecki's debt grows every year. It takes out more loans in order to claim massive repayments and avoid paying tax on its profits. Well, isn't that something? Alex, we'll have to talk about that, this tax avoidance scheme that Kozrecki engages in. And the reason Kozrecki was created is to manage, to minimize the payment of taxation. And it's an interesting story about how Kozrecki, Scientology in the Commonwealth countries, located in a house, the owner, they used an address of a guy. He didn't even know he was Kozrecki. And they were avoiding, it's a tax avoidance scheme in the Commonwealth countries. And Alex worked the books, and it's pretty amazing. So I hope you tune in Friday when we have our live. Kozrecki is the galactic, what is the C? I don't know the term. Adam, can you give me the acronym? I'm just not familiar with it. I want to know the galactic Chogam. What is that? Please explain. So this house of cards won't stand forever. No, it won't, but it'll stand. You know, they got a lot of money. I think that it'll end criminally, but we should have a betting pool on that. So that's kind of it. I look forward to Friday. Do I have anything else on that slide deck? Let me just check. No, you know, this was kind of fun. There's some things, like I said, I'll post them on my blog. This last thing is that in, if there's writing, this is a 2020, here are the numbers. Okay, at the end of 2022, Grant had paid class 5 members. He distributed 2.2 million and 1.99 for December 22 and 2021 respectively. So that was the payout. And class B members, Grant paid himself 711,000, and then he just took no money for 2021. That was probably to keep the finances in order, but it still says he's going to keep it. But Grant knows here the aggregate impact at December 31, 2022 would be to distribute an additional 3.4 million to the manager. So Mary, you can see here that Grant Cardone's carrying the money, and I don't know if he's treating it as deferred compensation, but Grant in those years paid himself 711,000, but the company, the investors, owe him 3.4 million. So you can see that, yeah, he's owed money by the company, and when they dispose of the property or any time at his discretion, he can take that money. So just as the debt Kozrecki owes to the Church of Scientology International here in America, located in Hollywood, California, just right down the street that way. If you're ever in the neighborhood, drop by. I'll take you over to CSI. Oh, thank you, Warrior Queen. Remember to like and subscribe. We like people. Let me do a Larry Anderson. If you like and subscribe to the Money Project, you will be very happy with you, and we will be very happy with you, because you will have proven that you're your own best friend. So please do like and subscribe to the Scientology Money Project and show that you are your own best friend. And we at the Scientology Money Project will be very happy with you. That doesn't make you feel happy and warm and glowy to know that you're liking and subscribing to a worthy cause, the Scientology Money Project, where oh, I shared your channel on my channel. I support what you're doing. Well, thank you very much, Benachi Patachio. I like that. I like that. Look at that. You got the cat and yourself and the American flag. That is so deluxe. I like that black cat in the foreground and the American flag. That's a really artistic, stunning. Wow. And then we have the Uber Bob. I love those old pictures in the 30s and 40s in his tuxedo. What deluxe, fascinating talk. Always good to see you. Always good to see you two here. Well, we've had enough fun. It's like an hour and a half hanging around. Hope you all have a great evening and enjoyed having you. And always be your own best friend. And remember, in every day, in every way, Scientology must lose. It must lose big or small in some way. That's my mantra. Every day, in some way, Scientology must lose, big or small. They must lose reputation, money, or members. That's our mantra. So thank you for tuning in. Been a great talk, and we will see you next time.